Great topic. Listen, I've been over here talking to you guys and I never pressed the live button. Jesus. Happy Thursday, everyone. Hello, Miss Dolores. Hello there. How are you? Hey, Lolita. Hey. Hey, Teresa. Hello there. Hey, let's see. Is it Deja? Hey, Deja. Hello there. How are you? I hope you guys are having a great start to your week. As you can see, my day just never starts smoothly ever. I do have Bigo after this. Yesterday was kind of a crazy day for me, especially with this whole Diddy situation. But the Diddy stuff is done, so I'm happy about that. Um, Diddy is still sitting behind bars where he needs to be at for the moment until he decides to get himself together. Hey, Donisha, hello there. How are you? So make sure that you guys are tuning in. But it's another murder, motive, and mess that they left behind, and I just dig it up for you guys. Okay, and this is another story of a well-known person. Why is this thing sad again? Another story of a well-known person, actually a reality TV star, who they're trying to figure out, did she murder with malicious or did she murder due to her mental well-being? Okay, so she was known as for her beauty, her glamour, but also she competed nationally on television, and now she's known for something that is entirely different from what many people are used to. So she's being accused of dismemberment, fire, and a missing head. So we're going to take ourselves down to South Australia, where this all had went down at, and that is where the body of Julian Story was found, burned, beheaded, and mutilated. And the woman that is accused of this horrifying crime. Hey, music, hello there. How are you? So the woman in question is this woman here by the name of Tamika Chesser, and she's a finalist on Beauty and the Geek. And now she does stand accused of one of the most disturbing cases out there in Australia. And she has been charged, and the body has been recovered, but Julian's head is currently still missing. And there is so many things that we are learning about her relationship, and things that led up to this entire situation. So when it comes to Julian, he is 39 years old and he was a guitarist, and he did have a troubling history, but he was described by many of his family members as deeply loved, of course. So he did live alone in a unit on Flinders Highway until a few months ago, when his new girlfriend, Tamika, had then moved in. So Julian did have some legal troubles of theft and disorderly conduct, as well as cannabis, but there was nothing close to what she actually did. So Tamika, she is 34, and she was once the runner-up on Beauty and the Geek in Australia back in 2010. Now, she did model for Playboy, as well as FHM, as well as Ralph Lauren. And she had posted some, spiritual reflections online here and there. And she talked about energy, God, self worth. But beneath the image, there was something more darker that was brewing within her. So on January the 19th, the neighbors, they did notice some thick smoke that was coming from her apartment area. Julian and Tamika had, of course, lived there. And one neighbor by the name of Jordan had saw Tamika sitting outside and asked what was going on. And she calmly just said, everything's okay. So she then locked the doors behind her and she walked away with her three dogs. But something just felt off. So Jordan had decided to kick the door in. Inside of the bathroom, okay, he had found a pile of what looked like some clothes. And it had smoke surrounding it. So he had pulled two buckets of water over the clothes, and he didn't see that it wasn't just laundry there. So what he did see, it wasn't just clothes and laundry, it was something under the clothing. So when police had arrived, what they found was Julian Story's dismembered remains burned within the clothing without a head. And it wasn't just a crime scene. It was just a total disrespect of someone's loved one. So Tamika, she wasn't running and she definitely wasn't hiding. She was actually found in the backyard. She was sitting very silently, but she was sitting in a chair, unresponsive, and then she was staring into nothing. So police had said that it was very emotionless, and she was basically a mute. She didn't say anything. So she was then arrested without struggle, and she was later transferred to the James Nash House, which is a psychiatric unit. Um, beheaded. Yes, she was beheading. Yeah, beheaded. Yes. So, in court, she then appeared on video with a shaved head. She had no expression on her face, and she was completely silent. So, she had been formally charged with murder, dismemberment, as well as burning the human remains of her loved one, as well as obstruction of justice, assaulting a police officer, and knowingly acting to prevent human remains from being found. Now, as for his head, it still hasn't have been recovered at any point into this investigation. So police also allege that Julian was possibly killed around midnight on June the 17th. 2 days later, only his torso and his limbs were discovered, but his head is still missing. So investigators do believe that Tamika had carried Julian's body in a bag through Port Lincoln and then disposed of it there in an unknown location. So they then had looked over some cliffs as well as some bush areas where they can possibly see if they can see her walking around, more possibly some, parks, dumpsters, coastal waters, beaches, but they did use some dive teams, some drones, and some K9 units. But on June the 25th, the active search was then suspended. Julian's family still has no head to bury with his body. So the superintendent of this investigation says that this is a very crucial yet careful investigation in order to find where Julian's head could possibly be so that his family can properly lay him to rest. So it does get a little bit darker because investigators begin to look to find out exactly what led up to this and what made her do this. So what they did was the locals say that Tamika had been beginning to act a little bit strange in the days prior to this incident. She was doing this for weeks, actually. She had moved to Port Lincoln in late 2024, and witnesses do remember that there was something that was very vivid in their memory, that she had shaved her head randomly out of nowhere. Now, you have to keep in mind that this is a beauty queen. So to see a beauty queen not only shave her head, but there are some crazy outbursts that go along with this as well. So of course, many people are going to look at that to be very alarming. So they described her as having a bald cut, but she act kind of normal, but surveillance and eyewitnesses videos tell a different story. So at a hotel, she was seen wearing a wig and a hat, which she then ripped off and began to scream. Outside of the coffee shop, she does some gymnastics on a public bar barefoot. Now, at the Lincoln War Memorial, she then appears to be topless, dancing beneath the words, "Let we forget." I don't know what that meant or anything. So Tamika was also seen in stores like the Kmart with a dog, appearing to be detached but also distracted. But they don't know by what. Sometimes screaming randomly can possibly be even talking to something that no one doesn't see. So the last time she called her family, she had rambled about her dog pooping on the floor. Her sister says, "Please report how my sister is in a mental psychosis, and this is not her. She would have never done these things." So her family also says that her decline had been years in the making. Her sister says that she also had been in and out of psychiatric care, and that in the recent years her mental state had completely shifted. So Julian's family is still grieving, and they did issue a heartbreaking statement stating, "We are navigating this loss. Your quiet strength means more than words, and we want to recover Julian and lay him to rest." So the police did confirm that Julian was murdered on June the 17th, and his body was dismembered and partially burned inside of the apartment bathroom. Tamika had allegedly carried his head in a bag to Port Lincoln. She was caught on CCTV walking her dogs and wearing dark clothing and carrying a bag. She was also found unresponsive with no emotion and no attempt to flee at all. No murder weapon was ever recovered, and no motive could be officially identified as of yet. Now, many people are asking what could have possibly caused her to go through this entire psychiatric break. They don't know because it has been happening for the last few years. And if you guys don't understand how that works, sometimes it can take an incident, sometimes it can take what someone says to you, it can take an environment, it can take a change, a move. Because let's just be honest, she had just moved. Maybe she felt alone in this move. You never know what could have triggered this downward spiral of a psychiatric, shift. You don't really know. And so that's one thing that they're looking at. Now, because she's in a psychiatric unit right now, it's possible that she will be able to, one, get the help she need, but they will also pin this murder to her mental health and said, the demons made her strong, and they did. Because he's a whole man and he looks like he's a big guy. Okay? He looks like he's a big guy. So for her to be able to not only, do this to him, that's a strength that is not a normal level of strength. Either she did this while he was asleep to where there was no fight back or no time to respond or something like that, because they did say it was at night. So my only thought would be is that she did something to him while he was sleeping. And the only thing that I can think of is that is either like a stab or, you know, um, being shot or something like that. But that's the only way that I think that she would be able to take down a man of his size. When I looked at some of his pictures, this is not a small guy. And she's not a big girl either. Yes, she's tall, but I don't see her being able to take this man down without a fight if he was fully aware of what's going on. And until they are able to do a, full throttle autopsy, which I would think would be difficult because she just has dismembered him and burned him. Now, her family did say that they did try to intervene into, get her assistance and things of that nature, but it was only so much that they could do. Because sometimes when it comes to mental health, people begin to cut family off. They want no parts of family, especially if family is, hard on highlighting the fact that they're dealing with mental illness. A lot of times people don't understand that when you're dealing with mental illness, those that are dealing with it don't really see themselves as mental at times. They don't see nothing wrong with their actions. They don't see nothing wrong with, the things in which they say. They don't really see it, So when you call it out, it would make them want to have nothing to do with you. They don't want to talk to you. And that's a normal reaction, a normal response. Yeah, he had to be sleeping because this guy, I don't see her being able to fight this man, hold him down, dismember him, and he's fully aware of what's going on. I just don't see it. Okay. Now, do I think that she premeditated this? I don't think so. I think that this was something. Mental psychosis is real, which we already had a discussion about because, as I told you guys before, mental psychosis is causing a lot of crimes today. Okay, it's happening more and more, and I like to say that it comes from the fact that mental illness, one, has not been taken, seriously, and two, I think that when it comes to the mental health, field, the resources is not there, but also I feel like it's just so many people. It's so many people and not enough workers to really tackle the problem itself. I really think that's what's going on in mental health. And then the resources when it comes to it too is slim as well. Because a lot of people don't have, the money to even pay for the life insurance to even insure, not the life insurance, the health insurance to ensure that they're getting the help they need mentally. And then at times, if they don't qualify for, some form of disability due to their mental health, everything is normal. It's not easy getting disability for your mental health There's people walking around right now where they're documented to have, some form of mental illness or mental disorders. But when it comes to them getting the benefits that they need to manage them, many of them are denied that. It's not something easily to get for some people. It depends on how bad your mental health is and whether or not the state feels as though that you fit the needs of needing some form of benefits or some form of subsidy to assist you in it. And that's the sad case in this. And then you also have some places where, for example, New York. New York is a place where many people run to get mental health assistance, and that's because it comes fast. But imagine all the workers that are left with all the people that are left to treat these people all in one state. It's not enough people for that. So it then goes to crimes. It goes to, a lot of different things that goes unchecked and unmonitored, which is unfortunate. You know what I mean? So um I don't think that she's I don't think that she is going to tell them where the rest of his remains are. I really don't, because 9 times out of 10 she doesn't even know what she did. If she's in a psychosis, 9 times out of 10 she doesn't even realize it's going to take for this psychosis to balance out for her to realize what she's facing. But while she's in the midst of this, she's not even processing the gravity of what she's done. And that's just honest. She's not. She's not. So would this family be able to get the true justice that they deserve, of at least being able to, you know, get the rest of his remains? I would hope so. But the chances are slim because of her mental health. Wherever she went with that bag, and there's plenty of CCTV of, I mean, she did this and walked the dog like it wasn't nothing. But thank God for that neighbor who instincts told him something isn't right here. Something's going on, and kicked in the door. Thank God for him, because this is a situation where if he didn't follow his instinct, Jordan would have been sitting in this house possibly for days while she's acting normal and she's in a psychosis. And family would have been putting in missing persons reports and trying to contact him, not realizing that he's deceased and dismembered in his girlfriend's apartment. So shout out to Julian is his name. I'm sorry, the victim's name, Julian. His family would have been still looking for him, which is unfortunate. But shout out to that neighbor, though, who went with their instincts. So, her psychosis was yeah, it was like that psychosis thing is a real thing. But a lot of people truly don't understand it. Like, they don't understand how it works, and they really want to try to hold people accountable when they're in this level of psychosis. And there's no accountability that they're going to take, because they don't even realize what they did. They wouldn't even be able to walk you through it. Interrogating her would be pointless. They're going to have to wait until until the medication kicks in, and it levels her out to where she's able to acknowledge what she's done. Until then, they're possibly going to get nothing from her. And it takes a minute for those medications to really do what they need to do. Let's just be honest. It's really unfortunate. So, we're going to keep updated on it, because, of course, because she was this beauty model, nationally, that many people knew, and this reality TV star, of course, this is going to be a case that many people are going to be watching, and I'm definitely going to be watching it as well. So if anything does come up from it, I will definitely let you guys know, okay? Now, Julian did pass away in the worst way possible: burned, mutilated, and beheaded. He lived with a woman who was once famous, now infamous. And in the days before his murder, her spiral was very visible to many people. It was alarming, and it was deeply ignored. What pushed her over the edge, many people will never know. Why didn't anyone step in? No one knows that either. And how does a man lose his life in his head while everyone else seen the signs? and does nothing. So Tamika is now in a psychiatric unit, silent, but Julian's story is never over, and I'm definitely going to keep you guys updated. Okay? This was another story of murder, motive, and mess that they have left behind, and I just dig it up. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you for tuning in to True Crime with Savage RoyalT.